Hospital reports concerning COVID-19 are in across the state. We'll tell you why the prognosis could use some improvement. Plus, a Missoula company is doing its part to get COVID tests turned around in a more timely fashion. And later, fall is in the air, and so is football. Highlights from the biggest games in our area.
From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Good evening and thanks for wrapping up your Friday night with MTN. I'm Tim McGonigal. COVID-19 has claimed the lives of 2 more people in Cascade County. According to the Cascade City County Health Department, a man in his 40s and a woman in her 80s both died. They both had underlying health conditions, and that brings the county's death toll to 10. Statewide, the death toll stands at 213. The state of Montana reported 715 new cases of COVID-19 today. Well, this week, the state of Montana released a snapshot of COVID-19 hospital occupancy and capacity in Montana. The first reports appeared to have some inconsistent and incomplete data for certain hospitals. MTN's John Riley has more on why that is.
The state of Montana released their first COVID-19 hospital occupancy and capacity in Montana report on Thursday. Officials say it's intended to be a snapshot, with local situations changing frequently. The Montana Hospital Association says even so, it's good for people to see the broader impacts in their area.
I think for the public to understand is that as the community faces more spread, by looking at these numbers, you can immediately evaluate what is the impact on your community beyond those numbers that you see daily being reported from the state.
Looking just at the report, there is some incomplete data. Namely, St. Patrick Hospital in Missoula, one of the largest hospitals in the state, only had COVID-19 cases reported. Data on all the number of beds and ICU capacity are absent. The state says the missing data points are because St. Patrick didn't provide all requested information for the first report, but expect the information to be more complete in future reports. MTN has also discovered some inaccuracies concerning St. Peter's Health in Helena. The report said that they had 7 active COVID cases during the snapshot. However, St. Peter's says they've never had any more than 5 active COVID cases at any given time. Bed capacity in the report also didn't match. The state says again they're relying on data that was submitted to them, but have encouraged organizations to correct data in the system if they notice an error. MHA told MTN there's going to be anomalies, but they're working with the state and their members to help sort them out. But even without the report, with continued rise of COVID cases, hospitals need people to follow social distancing guidelines and wear a mask.
This is not a question of whether or not you're violating someone's civil liberties. This is a question of what is our role in humanity? What is our role in terms of how we are going to care for one another? And we know we have vulnerable populations. Montana has the 6th oldest population as a percentage of our total population.
Reporting in Helena, John Riley, MTN News.
Meanwhile, cases at Benefis Senior Services continue to rise. At last check, there are 24 confirmed cases among residents. That number does not include 10 staff members who have also tested positive. Those cases are coming from the Eastview campus. Right now, there are no confirmed cases at the other 2 campuses, but there's some confusion about what happens to residents when they do test positive. We reached out to Benefis. They say every resident who tests positive is immediately moved to a standalone center. That center is on the West Campus, but it's not part of Westview. The 2 facilities are on separate floors. The head of Benefis Senior Services says he's working hard to be transparent about the outbreak.
We're just trying to keep everyone informed and let them know that we're doing the best job possible to keep all of our seniors safe. And the ones that have COVID, trying to keep them, number one, as comfortable as they can be and get them through the COVID and back to their apartments.
There are 172 total residents and 400 staff members at Senior Services. Missoula-based FYR Diagnostics has announced it has a new way of COVID sample testing that will allow a 24-hour turnaround time for results. Since announcing the new fast and accurate testing is available, CEO Chris Booth said their phone has been ringing off the hook to test samples. FYR is getting its COVID samples from private health providers. If any of those tests turn up positive, the company reports those results to the state. FYR hopes to assist in state testing in the future, but for now, the company's CEO says they're happy to be helping the community.
Our whole goal was to help our community, help the state of Montana. There's this dire problem, and our state doesn't really have the infrastructure to address it. And we knew we needed to help. We wanted to help, and it feels really, really great to have gotten to the point where we are helping.
New form of testing allows a smaller staff to conduct tests, but they are still in desperate need of more technicians and have job postings available on their website. Well, hopefully you were able to enjoy some sunshine today. We could be in for a change. MTN's Elizabeth Copeland has a first look at the forecast.
Today was the last warm day we'll be experiencing across north central and northeast Montana for a while. Temperatures this afternoon got up into the 70s and 60s. Now they're dropping as that sun is already set, and we're going to see that sunset early and earlier, which means temperatures are going to get pretty chilly over the next few days as a new system moves through. So right now we're sitting at the 50s. These are actually going to be the highs these next few days. So what we feel right now is going to be the warmest part of the day. Tomorrow after today we hit 70. A beautiful shot of our Opportunity Bank ICAM out of the capital city right now. You can see the Capitol in the background. Mostly clear skies above, but we do have some clouds trickling in, and that's going to be a good indicator, not only the clouds, but the wind as well, of those changes that are going to come in the forecast tomorrow. So the wind right now really gusty across the Rocky Mountain front. Nothing new there, but we do have some calming conditions overnight. Those winds kick right back in tomorrow as the cold front moves through, and we're going to really talk about those cooler temperatures and those rainy changes coming up here shortly.
When we come back, voting is already underway in Montana. Now ballots for most Treasure State voters are in the mail. We'll have an update.
From Montana's news leader, you're watching the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Welcome back. Mail ballots for the general election are now on their way to most Montana voters. 45 Montana counties are using all-mail ballots because of COVID-19. The other 11 are sending ballots to those who choose to vote absentee. The Montana Secretary of State's office says altogether 624,000 ballots went out today. In recent weeks, judges ruled on several legal fights over election procedures. They decided all-mail elections can go forward and ballots must be returned by 8 p.m. on Election Day. Election officials say in the end, the procedures are very similar to the June primary.
It worked out well for us and for the voters that the instructions we're sending and the ballots we're sending are all valid. Everything's legal and correct. That's included in there.
In June, Montana saw its highest primary voter turnout in decades as all counties used mail ballots, and officials expect another huge turnout this time. Well, if you're still undecided who to vote for in Montana's U.S. Senate race, Senator Steve Daines and Governor Steve Bullock will meet tomorrow night in their final debates of the campaign season, and it can be seen on MTN starting at 6 p.m. You can also watch with the KRTV streaming app for Roku, Apple TV, Fire TV, or Android TV. Also, starting on Monday morning, you can keep up with one of the biggest topics on the campaign season. We'll have live coverage on the Supreme Court confirmation hearing for Amy Coney Barrett, and that can be seen on the KRTV streaming app. That coverage begins at 7 a.m.
Big changes are moving in from the west. We'll see more cloud cover, rain, and cooler air. We'll track the timing of that coming up next.
Well, Hurricane Delta came ashore near the town of Creole, Louisiana tonight as a Category 2 storm. It thrashed the Gulf Coast around 6 p.m., packing 100-mile-per-hour winds and unleashing torrents of drenching rain. Tens of thousands evacuated ahead of the storm. For those who stayed behind, the mayor of Lake Charles, Louisiana, warned that first responders will not be making emergency calls during the storm. Tens of thousands of Gulf Coast residents are still trying to recover from Hurricane Laura. 2,500 members of the Louisiana National Guard are ready to fan out to hard-hit areas.
Storm Tracker weather starts now with Chief Meteorologist Elizabeth Copeland.
Welcome back on this Friday evening where it's going to be the warmest we're going to see for a while, at least this afternoon. This is what it looked like out of our U.S. Bank ICAM out of Great Falls, where we had some haze here and there, but otherwise blue skies above. Now the sun is set, and we're going to see those temperatures drop quickly, and they're not going to get back up to where they were today anytime soon. And these are going to be the highs. Actually, these next few days are going to be in the 50s. The dew point's going to be on the rise as well as some moisture moves in. We're still going to see that clear 10 miles of visibility for now. But again, all this is going to change as big changes move in for the weekend, all because of a cold front. But speaking of that haze, we did have some moderate conditions we wanted to talk about with air quality, especially closer to the divide like Helena, unhealthy for sensitive groups closer to both Bozeman and Butte, but the rest of us looking good, and we'll all be good tomorrow, especially as that wind drives out most of that smoke that's kind of lingering, and especially those valleys closer to the Rocky Mountain front. And it's really going to bring in just even more changes, which include right now cloud cover, which are kind of holding steady right down the Rocky Mountain front. There's the divide right there. Those clouds just forming across the Rocky Mountain front, really across north central Montana, but back here across the Pacific Northwest. These are going to be the changes that are going to move in later on tonight, tomorrow, and that's when we're going to see those big shift in forecast, not only for that rain, but wind as well. So it was a pretty breezy day out there. We had 20-30 mile per hour gusts. We're going to still see those gusts tomorrow as well, but they're going to crank up quite a bit. And we're talking closer to the 40 mile per hour mark in some areas, and even 50 mile per hour mark, especially closer to that Rocky Mountain front. And then that wind's going to really hold steady in the 40s through Sunday. So it's definitely going to be a windy weekend for us. Visibility going to be reduced from blowing and drifting rain that's going to be coming down in sheets, especially as that cold front moves through across the divide. But before that moisture arrives, the wind is going to factor into our fire danger. So last weekend we saw these same kind of conditions start occurring, where if a fire starts, it's going to spread quickly, like the Yogo fire. So Saturday from noon to 8 p.m. do be aware if you have a fire or a campfire near, just be careful, because if that fire does spread, it's going to spread quickly across these areas as that wind kicks up. Relative humidity is going to stay low ahead of this cold front, and then the changes are going to start occurring. So that cold front starts to sweep through right around 8, 9 o'clock for western Montana. It then moves across the divide right around 2, 3 o'clock, but the wind is already going to start blowing across our area before that cold front arrives. But as the cold front inches closer, rain's going to start moving in. Very light showers possible for north central Montana down to Great Falls. Helena already going to be seeing that rain as that cold front moves across the divide right around 5 o'clock. And we're going to see snow levels drop across the divide to about 5,000 feet as well. So if you're heading into western Montana or Idaho, do keep in mind you're going to run into some snow and ice, especially Saturday night into Sunday morning. So maybe take a couple extra minutes there for travel. Otherwise, we're looking at much colder conditions, rain back in the forecast, and then of course that wind is really going to whip around through the weekend. So for 7-day forecast, at least, we're still going to hit 73 on Saturday, but temperatures are going to change quickly Saturday into Sunday, because that cold front is going to bring that much colder air mass in. We're going to hold steady in those 50s, which is right about the temperature right now, and that's going to be the high Sunday and Monday. 60s in the forecast for Tuesday. Capital City seeing that rain a little earlier. Again, up in those upper elevations, you're probably going to see some snow capping those mountains. So we hit 70 on Saturday, dropping to the 40s Saturday into Sunday. And we'll see those 50s by Monday, and then we'll hold steady in the low 60s through midweek next week.
All right, thanks, Elizabeth. And when we come back, plenty of high school football highlights to cap off a crisp autumn night.
From Montana's news leader, you're watching the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Welcome back. Tonight's high school football schedule features 3 games between undefeated teams, highlighted by a massive showdown in Helena between the Bengals and the Glacier Wolfpack. Our Sam Hoyle leads off week 7 of Sports Extra.
Welcome to Helena. The Helena High Bengals playing host to the Kalispell Glacier Wolfpack in an undefeated mid-season tilt. Both teams sitting at 4-0, looking to move to 5-0 to at least lock up a share of that first place spot in the Western AA. Should be a fantastic game full of highlights tonight. Let's get into them.
Glacier off to a rocky start in this one. Jake Randina, the big power back for the Wolfpack, stripped on the first drive. Helena High unable to do anything until their second drive, and Marcus Evans punches it in from just a few yards out. It's 7-0 later in the first half. Caden Hewitt showing off the big gun, gonna loft this one to Rafe Miller, who hits some spicy moves to miss a few Glacier defenders. It's 13-0 after the missed PAT, but it wasn't all smooth sailing for the Bengals. Hewitt unable to find anyone until he looks to the near side, finds a wide open Zachary Evans, who makes the catch and promptly coughs it up. Glacier unable to score on the turnover though, and here is a look at your final score. Reporting in Helena, Sam Hoyle, MTN Sports.
Hello and welcome to Malta, Montana, as we gear up for one of Class B football's biggest rivalries. The hometown Mustangs are hosting Glasgow this evening, and as always, this game carries significant consequences. Both teams are undefeated, and the winner will have a really good chance to win the Northern B Division.
First quarter went by in a flash. We're in the second here, and Cash Salisbury, remember that name. He gets Malta on the board first with a short run. 8-0 Mustangs, ensuing Glasgow possession. Salisbury picks off quarterback Loden Idler, runs it deep into Glasgow territory, setting up this. Another short run, Rex Williamson this time. Malta up 14-0 in the second. Later, Scotties need to clamp down. How about the open field tackle from Cooper Larson? Glasgow would hold, but they need to get the offense rolling. Just before the end of the half now, Idler steps out of the back of the end zone for a safety. Malta was up 24-0 at halftime. Here's a look at your final. In Malta, Isaiah Dunk, MTN Sports.
Whenever two teams come into a matchup with a combined record of 7-0, you know it's going to be a good one. That's what we have here tonight as the Big Sandy Pioneers host the Power Dutton Brady Titans. Let's get to the highlights.
First drive of the game, Cade struts. Yo, Sports Center, you seeing this? Hurdles one defender, hurdles a second defender, and rumbles his way in for a touchdown. How about that to start the game? Titans would answer. Nicholas Wildhelm rolling out, flips the ball to Spencer Lenners, who somehow stays in bounds, breaks the tackle, and he finds pay dirt. Power on top 8-6. This was just ridiculous, though. On 4th down and long, Struts isn't gonna make it, so he pitches it to Patrick Proul. Yo, Sports Center, you seeing this? Pioneers take a 24-8 lead into halftime. Here's a look at your final score. In Big Sandy, Matt Holzaffel, MTN Sports.
CMR hosting Gallatin here, homecoming night at Memorial Stadium. The Rustlers have lost 3 straight, but they've been missing several starters due to COVID contact quarantine. Those players should be back in the lineup tonight. Will it make a difference for CMR? It's the Raptors putting their stamp on the game early. Midway through the first quarter, Braden Mickelson finds Rylan Schlepp. He breaks the tackle, and that'll spring him for a 72-yard run and score, 7-0. Gallatin on the board first. CMR the other way. Rafe Newbro's pass is going to be tipped and picked off by Evan Cherry. He'll bring this one back deep into Rustler territory. Go to the second quarter, finishing the drive of the Raptors. Mickelson to Schlepp again. What a catch over the defense in the end zone. How about 14-0 Raptors? Rustlers need a spark, and they get it from a defensive back. Caden Doran, diving interception. That'll give CMR a chance to get on the board. Last play of the half, Newbro looking for 6, but he's picked off by number 8, Cherry, again with his second pick of the half. Raptors take a 2-touchdown lead to the break, and here's a look at your final score in Great Falls. Tom Wiley, MTN Sports.
Hello everybody, Scott Breen at Dela Stadium in Billings. Matinee football between the West High Golden Bears and the Great Falls Bison. Bears, in fact, entering this one, the only undefeated team left in your Eastern AA, trying to bump it to 5-0. Opening quarter, opening drive of the game for Great Falls. Bison going nowhere, blown up before it gets started. West's opening drive, Jamin Medlock around the corner for a quick score and a 7-0 lead for West. Monster hit of the game right here. Great Falls facing 4th down. Riley Bergeson lights up Riley Torgerson. Drives him backwards for a change of possession to West. Second quarter now, following a Caden Paul interception. Bears cash it in again. Isaiah Klon, short pass to Taco Dowler. Number 14 does the rest to make it 14-zip West. Bears get it back on downs again, still in the second. Hand it off to the workhorse. Jamin Medlock again. Big hole to make it 21-0. Great Falls with it again. Final play of the half on 3rd and goal from the 8. Reed Harris drives toward the goal line and hits the pylon to get in. That cuts the deficit to 21-7. Third quarter after Clonch and Taco connect on a 75-yard touchdown strike. Caden Dowler this time. Bears win a blowout tonight. West takes its 5-0 record on the road next week at Belgrade. Bison return home for a date with Skyview's Falcons. That'll do it from Dela Stadium in Billings. Scott Breen, MTN Sports.
Coming into Friday's Class AA football games, the Western AA standings were jam-packed in multiple spots. 3 teams sat at 4-0, while 4 teams sat at 1-3. 2 of those teams, in Missoula Big Sky and Helena Capital, squared off at MCPS Stadium on Friday evening in a game that could have playoff or seeding implications for both squads down the road. Coulter Giannicaro capped off a 9-minute 25-second drive with this 1-yard run to get Big Sky started. But Capital responds in the second quarter with a long drive itself, and Tegan Causey scores from 7 yards out to make it 7-6 Bruins. Then Capital scores again as Matt Burton found Tom Carter, who sheds a pair of tackles, and he is gone from 23 yards out for the touchdown as Capital goes into half leading 14-6. Third quarter now, and it's Giannicaro again. He goes right up the middle on 3rd down, and 49 yards later, he scores with Capitals still leading by 2 at this point. This was a good one tonight, and here's a look at your final score from MCPS Stadium. In Missoula, Kyle Hansen, MTN Sports.
And remember, you can catch up on all the scores and even more highlights from games across the states over on montanasports.com. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Rain continues in the forecast Saturday afternoon as a cold front starts to approach. It's going to be windy out there, 73 on Saturday afternoon. Sunday, 55. That big drop in temperatures occurs, and we're going to stay in the 50s through next week as isolated showers remain on and off in our forecast.
We saw highlights of the CMR win over Gallatin earlier today in homecoming festivities. CMR held their homecoming reverse parade this afternoon. Their band and floats were stationary and cars were welcome to drive through the Montana Expo Park Fairgrounds. Students and staff working the parade wore masks and waved to cars driving by. Even the Statue of Liberty had a mask on. That's all the time we have for you. Don't forget the U.S. Senate debate comes up tomorrow night at 6 right here on this MTN station. Our MTN News comes your way at 5:30 as well tomorrow night. So until then, have a great night and a great weekend.